Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. This is another installment, episode 4 of the Black Real Estate Dialogue residency with Gabby Burks. So the past couple episodes, if you haven't spoken about them, we spoke about her acquiring her property, and really each episode you've just been taking a look at different steps of the process. In the last episode, we were very close to the finish line and recently starting on her and her husband's second property. So today, I'm very excited just to share a lot of exciting updates. Gabby's really been grinding and hustling in the last month. So, we have a lot of cool stuff to share. So Gabby, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome. So what's been going on? How are things going with the property?
Yeah, so we're done with, I almost said the address because we called it by the address. People were gonna be like, let me look this up. We're done with, we're done with the property. We finished with HVAC and we painted the whole outside of it, repainted the whole outside. Those were the last two things that we did in the last maybe 2 weeks. And so as that process was finishing up, we were already kind of going into the process of looking for a tenant and everything like that. So it is finally finished. It's crazy that it's been so short because it feels so long.
Yeah.
Like I've had it for a long time, but I haven't. So
That's amazing. I remember our first episode, I believe, came out June 1st. And now we're almost into September and you're already done. So that's crazy. So what was the last 2 weeks like? Just coming close to the finish line and just knowing that you were almost done with your first rehab. What was that like?
it was actually pretty interesting because, so like I said, we did HVAC and we did the paint. So the paint was fine. As we were finishing up, HVAC was one of the last contractors, and I finally hit a run-in with the contractor where we had problems. Before that, we really didn't. I mean, we had a few, but it wasn't like this was like a big problem. Like I was about to. Like if it wasn't for my husband, it would have been smoking the city. So very disrespectful, hanging up the phone on me after he received a deposit, just half-assing the work with the HVAC. We probably had to call him out at least 5 times. And so before that, we had pretty consistent contracts. I'm going to do this, you pay this, and this is when it'll be done. That's why I didn't have any headaches. And so to that, I just say references are really, really big, and making sure people understand what the expectation is. So we did have a contractor contract, which I share in my course, like literally exact same one. And we spelled out exactly what we wanted him to do. And he then gave the job to his dad, and his dad was like, well, I mean, it was just, so that was probably the most interesting thing that happened in the last 2 weeks. Other than that, the paint was phenomenal. It definitely gave the block a whole facelift. Yeah, and the HVAC, of course, adds a ton of value to a home. So we definitely want to make sure we got that in. So, but other than that, it was cool.
Definitely, for sure. How did you kind of get the contractor in line to get the job done?
So it's me, my uncle, and my husband. So I have a lot of manpower. My husband's 6'3", so I'm 5'3". So, but I'm super gully. So I was like, where he at? So I had to kind of calm down and let them kind of diffuse the situation. But basically, he finished the job, but it wasn't done to expectation. If you go to a basement, there were, the wires are kind of tucked into the beams, and they were like hanging down. He was like, no, he was saying that it was fine. The copper was hanging down. The big HVAC condenser thing was away from the house. We had to push it in and stuff. And so basically, if it was just me, for the women who want to be out here and taking on real estate investing, you really want to make sure you at least have a male mentor, because I know that if it was just me, he would have never came back out to fix the pieces. And so when he came back out, my uncle was there. We almost told him just to take everything back out, literally undo everything and take it, but it would have just been a hassle. So we let him finish the job, and very clear that we won't use him again. So it's about having an expectation, not paying 100%. I think we paid 30%. And then my husband did a really good job. He said, we were going back and forth with him. He said, if the job's not done by 6, you can pull everything out. And I would say at 5:50, the job was done after calling him out about 5 different times. So
It
we
got
really
done.
had to like spin it up. So
Got it. Cool. So tell me about that last day when everything was done. You know, you did your walkthrough and everything, and we're done. The rehab was done. Tell me about that day.
yeah, so that day was it's a little interesting for us because we got a bunch of um, stuff still at the house on this last day. So we had the building inspector or occupancy inspector come out, but we put everything in a closet and it seems like it doesn't open. So we kind of like tucked a bunch of stuff away in his closet, bunch of paint, bunch of saws and just stuff, anything we can kind of condense. So, and then it was just about like really cleaning it and walking it like a tenant. So any touch up, like you're almost walking with a paint and a brush, and almost any touch ups, you're walking around the trim, things that you forgot about, making sure everything is turned on. So then when they walk in, all of the lighting is, really bright. And it almost like getting it picture ready. So that was kind of, that last day was like small touch ups and then like picture ready.
Got it. And this has been an incredible journey. And, I'm just reflecting back and just thinking about our first couple episodes. And it's been special just to see the progression. So I guess after things kind of settled and, you completed everything, how did it feel at that time? And how does it feel now just to know in just like about 3 months, you completed your first rehab as like a brand new investor who was just kind of learning as you're going?
Man, you know what? It's until we just talked to, or we're talking right now, I really didn't sit with it because I'm always like, what's next?
Yeah.
So it does feel really good, but I'm still like, what's next? And so like, as you know, in the process of finishing this property, we acquired another one in the last maybe 3 to 4 weeks. So I am kind of already onto that property. We just walked it a couple hours today. And so sometimes, to your point, it's nice to kind of sit and say, okay, we did this. And then we know that if we bought it for 10.5. I think we bought it for 10. I always forget if we ended up paying that extra 500. We bought it for 10. We put 10 in it. We know that at minimum in this market, it's worth 40 to 50. And so we haven't got it appraised or anything yet, but I will. It feels good, but I'm just super hungry. So I can't help but to say like, that's cool, but what's next? So
For sure. It's great that you mentioned what's next. So we touched on it a little bit, very little bit in the last episode. But you two acquired the second property. So tell us more about that. Walk us through how you found it. Walk us through, how you paid for it and what the plans are for it.
yeah. So my friend who is an agent and an investor in the area, he DM'd me and was like, yo, I think I found a property and I think it's perfect for you. And so, and I'm sorry if I said this the last episode. So I said, why don't you want it since you're an investor? And he already had maybe 4 properties that were tied up. And so we went to go see it. And I met a guy he's from Florida. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, full basement, all brick. The last time it sold in 2009 was for $69,900. And he was selling it for $12,000. And so we didn't have $12,000 cash. Like I knew I could get it because I had a strategy in my head, and I'll share that in a minute, but we didn't have the cash. And so I said, when are you looking to sell this? We did a walkthrough with the owner. I asked him how he acquired it. He got it from a tax auction. So that was a flag for me saying, okay, he didn't pay a lot for this, maybe a few thousand. So he probably won't be pressed to get this $12,000. So long story short, I talked to him about when he was looking to sell it. He said, how long do you need? And I said, can you give me a month? And he said, okay, let's talk about it. So I called him. I sent him a text the next day and asked for a Zoom call set up with him. We did a Zoom call and I offered him 20% over asking price. Yeah, 20% over asking price to hold the property while I go and find the other money. So we went to the bank, we got the contract notarized. You cannot sell this property. I asked him to up it to 5 weeks so that I could find the capital and we gave him, I think, 2,000, maybe 2,300 or something. So we acquired that property with that creative financing. Like that's just you can just ask someone, hey, I don't have it now. What does this look like? So he really liked the idea that we offer 20% over asking price for a hold. So we did that, and I started making phone calls to family and friends, and that's when we got on a family conference call. I laid out my plan. I told them how successful and how amazing the first property was, and some of our wins, some of the things we could have did better. And then I told them how this next property is going to be even more in value than the first one. And we raised about $10,000 with our family, 3 family members, and was able to get that cash and close on this next one. I'm trying not to say the addresses. That's why I keep stuttering, because I call them by the name.
It's all good.
So yeah, we closed on that one, and I say that part of the story about, hey, we didn't have the cash, but I knew I wanted this house, and this is how I was creative and made it happen. Because I think that we get so stuck when we see a house and we're like, oh, I can't afford it. I'm not even going to go see it. Go see the house. You know, you just never know. When I met him, he was like, you don't have to give me any money. I'll hold it for you. But because of how I want to do business, I know that money talks. So I was very adamant about making a money exchange for a contract. So yeah, it ended up happening beautifully. He's now a friend. He says he wants to do more, deals with me, and he just acquired a 7 unit. So he's not worried about, whatever he lost or in the last property. So you can make it happen with connections, conversation. And if I would have never began telling my story, my first friend wouldn't have introduced me to this next one. So all of that secret, I'm going to build an empire, is those times are over. We telling stories. That's why we on podcasts. So
Definitely. And the powerful thing within what you just shared is that, and I want to make sure we speak about this. You didn't have the funds for the property, but you believe that if you can just get control of it, you can just hold it, you figure out a way. Yep. And I think that is so powerful because, as you mentioned, sometimes we just talk ourselves out of things without knowing there is a creative way. There are creative ways to make these things happen. So I think it's great. It's great. It's a great testament to your creativity that, you believe that you could figure it out and get the money. And if you didn't, then hey, you didn't. But, I think you don't lose anything by trying. So I think, much respect to you for doing that.
And I think the other piece I'll add to that, which made the property and the deal just so much more attractive, is the guy that's selling it. He was he's going to be demoing a property in one of the richest neighborhoods in the state. And so he said, come walk this property. Anything you want, you can have. I'm talking cabinets, stove, refrigerator. I'm not joking. Like it'll be on social. It is insane. Countertops, marble, the richest neighborhood in the state. He acquired after he got my now property. And he said, we're going to tear everything out and redo it so you can come get there's a deck. And so just being creative, knowing that I can go get a refrigerator, I can go get a stove, I can go get cabinets and redo them and put them back up. A sink at the bathroom. There's nothing wrong with this property. They're just going to update it and probably sell it for $1 million. So that part, and I wanted to add that because at first I kept thinking, should I have offered 20% over asking price? But when I can get my hot water tank, my tub, my toilet, yes, it's totally worth it, because he was like, anything you want, you can have. And some of the stuff is new and in boxes. And so it's probably at least $10,000 to $12,000 worth of materials. No exaggeration. That we're going to give for free, that we wrapped into the deal. We put it in the contract and everything. So
I love that. I love that.
Conversations. Yep.
Amazing. So what are the plans with this property, the new one?
Yeah, so we got a couple things going, but my ideal plan would be to flip it. It would be to flip it because I think that after we put in maybe about a month and a half, I'm going to be realistic and say 2 months, I think that it could be top of the market again. And so it'll be 6 times, 7, 8 times will be bought it for. And that'll be obviously capital I can go buy a 4 unit or, whatever I want to do. Cause I really want to get into the multifamily space.
Definitely, for sure, for sure. How much do you think you may have to put into it roughly?
Um, I would say we got about 80% of the material. So with just manpower and 20% more of material, less than 10.
Oh, that's pretty good.
If I can get, I'll start taking bids on the foundational pieces, electrical and plumbing and HVAC this week, but I can't see more than 10,000.
Got it. Got it. How are you finding the rehab?
So we're going to be using a hard money lender. That's our plan. Our plan is to use a hard money lender so that if we do, we always, when you get in this space, there's a standard, finishes, and then there's like okay finishes, and then there's, like the high end. And so if I can get a hard money lender with the right price, I would probably do more of the high end finishes, for your kitchens and bathrooms. And that'll let me, to answer your question a little bit more, the last question, I would be coming in close to about 12 to 13,000 if I can get a cushion on really putting in some nice finishes to it. But yeah, hard money lender is what we've been looking into for this property.
Got it. Got it. How's that been going for so far? You kind of still searching for the right partner?
We found a hard money lender a while ago, actually. Probably the same day I found the property, I started hustling. I reached out to a lender. She put me in contact with the hard money lender. He was really excited. We met all of his qualifications, and I'll share them because people are probably wondering what are the qualifications. A hard money lender is basically really similar to lending from a bank. It's just more expensive. And so basically they wanted to see $15,000 in the bank, and we had $15,000 in the bank. They wanted a credit score of 650. We had that. And then they wanted, I think that was maybe that was it. Maybe it was one more thing. And so we had all of those things. So we submitted once you have those things, you apply, and then you submit the property to them. So we submitted in the property Monday, and he denied it because he said that in all of the loans that he's done in this area, which was 600 loans, he's never lent in this area. This area is the hood. And so I was appalled by that because he was so excited and adamant about lending to Black people. And so my pushback was, you hooked me in saying that because this is a Black man, that we have to start, getting into the space, but you're literally telling me, he said, I won't lend in that zip code. And the house was only 12,000. All I needed was, not that much money. And so we went back and forth, not in an argumentative way, but just educate me on where you're coming from, that you want to lend to Black people, but not in Black neighborhoods. And so he said, basically his company, which he obviously works for someone else, the minimum they can give out is 50,000. And so guys, when you go to hard money lenders, they have a minimum, and his was 50, which is a lot. It's quite a bit. And the house, when he pulled it up and did the comps, looked through the MLS, it's not going to need 50,000 to be fixed up. So he wouldn't make any money on it. So for that, we let it go. So that was our first one. I'll probably maybe work with him again if I can find a more expensive house that needs more work. But we just applied on Friday to another one, and their minimum is 20,000. Gotcha. So I'm hoping when we add in the garage needs some fixing, that we'll come in with that when I submit our renovation plan.
Definitely. So how are you feeling about the fix and flip? So I know the first was kind of renovated to rent it out. But what are your thoughts? How do you feel about the fix and flip as compared to preparing it for a tenant?
I feel kind of the same. My only thing is just avoiding like capital gains. Like, how do I do that? And I have a couple people that I'm going to be leaning on, a couple people in the space that I'm just going to be asking, how are you avoiding capital gains? I know we talked about it even in my real estate mixer last week, and they just said you need an attorney and they'll do a lot of tax write-offs. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how still. So that's probably my only concern, because I would like cash out at, a $50,000 profit, but how do I protect, a huge tax on that? So that is what I'm going to be doing research on to educate myself about. That's my only concern.
That makes sense. And then, so for the money you raise from family members, are they going to, are you paying them out at when everything gets flipped? Are they being paid out from those proceeds?
That's a great question. So we did a 3-month starting September 1 contract with their money. Their money is I want to say we came in at 3% of
Mm,
whatever they invested, and it would be a 3% at the end.
gotcha.
Um, this is going to be my mom's second time, maybe her third time giving us cash for these properties. And so she's just been rolling it over to the next one. So we probably owe her a lot, but everybody else, I'll probably cash out at the 3% plus what they invested.
I love it. I love the group economics. I love the family investing together. And I mean, look, you never know. A lot of people's first opportunity to be part of a deal is as an investor. As a silent investor,
Yeah.
invest in somebody else's project. So to be honest, you never know what kind of impact that could have for your entire family. Because think about it. Gabby got this property, she rehabbed it, rented it out, she flipped this one. Maybe I can do it. Maybe my kids can do it, or you know what I mean? So I think it's really powerful that you're given opportunity to you give an opportunity to your family to be part of these deals. I think it's powerful.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
And we were talking a while back, and you mentioned that you hired one of the teens that had been helping around the house during the last rehab. Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah. So if you guys listen to the first or second episode, we would just get like teens from kind of in the neighborhood up and down the block, and helping with the grunt work, like really a lot of hauling. And so that process was over. So I really hadn't used them in the last month, but maybe 2 weeks ago, one of them called, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, "Hey, Miss Gabby, I don't know if you remember me," and I remembered him, and he was like, I know I'm only 16, but I want to start doing what you're doing. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I want to start fixing houses. I want to start flipping them. I found a house already. I found a house. He named the neighborhood. He named what kind of house it was. It's brick. It's 2 stories. I think I can get it for this. Like he was like, he had already done
Wow.
so much like in research, I don't know how, but he did. And so I was like, okay. I said, so what do you need from me? He said, I want to intern with you, and I want to help with your properties every week, and I don't want you to pay me. And so, so that was really, really, I know I can tear up right now. It
Yeah.
was really cool because I totally forgot about that impact, because again, we went into like some of the harder pieces of the house. And so I didn't need the guys as much. And then school started and everything. And so he called me, and we actually hung out on Thursday. We went to my Black real estate mixer. So I had him in a room with about 60 different Black investors. And yeah, he was like trying to play chess with like the city commissioner at one point. It was pretty cool. He was like, "This is Black owned," and so we did it at a Black owned lounge, and so yeah, it was cool to hang out with him and talk with him. And he continued to talk to me about his property. He said, "Are you going to help me get it?" I said, "If you do the work, I'm gonna be right there with you." So I'm excited to see to see him pursue that. I met his mom and everything on Thursday as well. So
Wow. How old is he?
six 16.
16. That
I don't know what
is
I want to do at 16.
that is really, that's honestly what it's all about,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's just so powerful to me because, you know, I'm just thinking back to when I was 16. I if I if someone gave me an opportunity to even help clean around a house
Mhm.
that was being rehabbed, that would have meant the world to me. And now you sparked this interest in him for real
Right.
estate through being exposed to you rehabbing this property. And now at 16, he wants to gain those skills. And I mean, I'm just so happy I'm glad that you decided to help him out. And I'm so excited for him because he's gonna take over the city in 10 years, like if
Right.
he's soaking up this knowledge and he's even aware of all this stuff at 16, there's no telling what he can become in the future. So I think that is incredible.
Yep, I agree. He's gonna kill it.
Definitely, definitely. So one thing I wanted to ask about the first house. So you got a tenant now.
Yes. Yep.
Got you,
They
got
moved,
you,
they moved September 3rd. So
got you. So can you talk to us more about that? I know you went through Section 8. So
yeah.
can you just kind of talk about what your process was like? with Section 8 and everything that consisted of?
Yeah, Section 8 for Missouri, for St. Louis, they're not doing inspections. They're not going to houses. They're not meeting landlords. Everything is online. And so Section 8, from what people tell me, the inspection is a pretty gruesome process. And so they're allowing the tenant to actually walk the property and say, it's safe, it's livable, it's good, and sign off as the inspector for their own property. And so, and I think they're doing that for the rest of the year. So that process was like butter. I called one of my mentors. He was like, let me get some tenants in some of these properties. He was like, Section 8 is a beast. So he was like, what? So it was pretty flawless. I did have to get on a Zoom. It was a couple hours long. And then you list it on gosection8.com. And then you find a tenant, or a tenant finds you, and you meet at the property, they walk it, sign on the paperwork, and you send it in. And then after that, the Section 8 manager called me and negotiated like a rent for the bedroom bathroom ratio that they, their standard for the city. And so after that, we set on a date to move. So it's pretty easy. I know people were like, don't do it, it's so hard. And I guess coronavirus it's just been blessing me a lot. Not to be insensitive, but it's I'm definitely taking advantage of kind of being able to self-manage and self-direct versus all of these people walking the space and everything.
For
so
sure.
Cool.
For sure. How much are you gonna be able to rent it out for?
$750.
Got you. And how does Section 8 work in St. Louis? Like, do they pay a certain portion of it? Do they pay all of it? How does it work in the city?
For this tenant, I think for us, I think they pay 80% of it.
Wow.
80% of the rent. Yeah.
That's
and then
so
the difference is whatever that is, $150, and the tenant pays the $150.
That's pretty good. What was I gonna say? Got you. And you're self-managing, right?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yep.
Cool. Exciting things happening. I know there's like a lot of other things you got going on. You've been really killing it the last month.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So the first thing I want to talk about is your mixer that you just did. I've been seeing it on social media, all the posts and everything. So can you talk to us about that and let us know, how that you spearheaded it, you organized it. Can you just talk to us more about how that went?
Yeah. So traditionally in the city, I do events. I've done events a lot to do with mixers, panel discussions, things like that, interviews. And so I'm pretty well known in that space. And so a lot of people from this process and being open and transparent on me starting something were interested in getting into real estate investing. And so I myself follow other investors who I never met. I met one. The rest I had never met on the panel, I'm pretty sure. And so I started reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing a real estate mixer where we do a Q&A with the audience and they send in questions and we ask them live, what do you think? And so I found about 7 Black millennial investors to come out. One guy, owns 3 Dunkin' Donuts. He's 28. Another girl has 9 properties. She's 31. I mean, I'm like, woo, they're like killing it. So it was super, super powerful. Our ticket limit was 50 at first. And we sold out at 47 tickets. And then we upped it to 60 and we sold out at 57 tickets. It was a packed house. We did open bar the first hour and we got a lot of good feedback. And I was really adamant on when we began. And real estate, which Sam, we use a lot of jargon like ROI and holding and BRRRR. And so we can kind of get into the semantics of that. And my audience is like, what is going on? So I really made sure that if you don't know something, call us out and say, what is. So people were asking the simplest questions. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, how do you not know what hold is? Like, but I was grateful at the same time. Like, this is something that we really have to, if we want to build, which our goal, is to really build an army of investors in St. Louis, we really have to get into like just the foundation of real estate investing. So that really humbled me because I'm thinking, whoever comes out has already begun. No, this is their begin, right?
Yeah.
So it was really, really, really cool. It was a lot of fun. And so the 7 of us total, I was gonna pay them out because I think we made about $1,000 in ticket sales, and each of them, all but one, came to me and said, "Do not give me any money. Let's take this and roll it into a part 2 and start taking people in the field." So there will be a part 2 where we walk properties with people, and we even talked about sectioning people off. Like, these people go with the wholesaler, these people go fix and flip, and then coming back for lunch, and like making it a whole weekend thing. So it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot.
Dope. That's dope. Shout out to you for doing that. What are the like the restrictions like in did you guys do anything different from how you normally would pre, everything going on? Like yeah, like pre-COVID, like is your city more or less open? I know it's like different all over the country.
Oh yeah, I know that somebody was saying their gyms weren't open, but we're pretty much open. We just have to have masks on.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
I think there's a curfew by midnight, but no,
Gotcha.
it was pretty much open. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. That's pretty cool. Awesome. When do you think the next one might be? In a couple months?
Yeah, we're gonna do like a recap probably this week, and
Mhm.
I like to move fast while people are still excited.
Yeah.
And so I would hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks we could do a part 2.
Got you. So the other big piece of news is that you dropped a course, which I just finished, like
Oh yeah, I was like,
before
what's
this
the
interview.
need?
So, so talk to us more about that. I really enjoyed the course, but I'll let you talk more about it.
Yeah, so kind of back to what I said a minute ago, people have been hitting me up left and right and asking about, how, what, when, why. And I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I'm like, oh, you do this and you do this. And the next person call or text or DM or email. And so I decided to package it up so that when people ask pretty common questions, I can address every piece of it. And so I do call it like a tell-all course, because I talk about tips and tricks, things I would have done differently. And then, of course, if you guys have been following my journey on Bread, you know that I studied real estate for about a year before I got into it. So I do know a lot more than maybe the average person that's just holding one house. Like Sam, you would know more than the person because you've interviewed 50 people. And so being able to package that up and share like the do's and don'ts has been, it was super fun to do. And I'm excited about people really growing and learning from it. So yeah, everything that I did from how I got the house all the way to the tenant is in the course. And I add in a property checklist. So if you're asking yourself, if I go to a property, how do I know what to look for? You can print off my property checklist and look. There's a section for plumbing and there's a section for electric, and so you kind of know I'm checking this off. This is what makes a good home. This is what I'm looking for. There's a contractor contract. There's a bunch of attachments and pieces that go along with the course and my slideshow and an hour webinar to really walk you through in depth from start to finish my own project. So I think it'll be a really good foundation for somebody that doesn't know where to start.
Definitely. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, especially when you talked about like the scope of work, talked about working with the contractors. It was very informative. So I enjoyed it. It'll definitely be in the show notes for people to grab. And that just came out a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. You got a lot going on. I love it. It's awesome. Wow. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into part 2, dive into the second part of what you have going on and, how things go with the tenant and everything, and just hearing about the progress on this property on the next segment. So, I mean, this is great. I'm excited. For everybody, if you haven't listened to the first few episodes with Gabby, you definitely should. It'll put all of this into context. But yeah, this is great. Is there anything else you want to leave with the listeners for today?
I always say, tell your story. I think that just to add to that is to really connect with someone who is in the space. I think I'm super grateful I'm going to shout out Corey. I know he'll probably listen to this from your podcast, Sam. Again, me reaching out to Sam and telling my story, he putting me on the pod once a month led to me meeting Corey in New York, who is just a rock star and is a student of real estate, but hasn't bought a property yet. And so now I've taken him on as a mentee, and we're walking through a 1-year plan with him. And so and I know it's blessing him. I know it's fueling him. And we have some really practical goals on savings. We have practical goals around credit. And so I say all of that to say, I'm probably not taking on any more mentees. He got lucky, but telling your story really opens up so much, and we're really here to connect with one another. If I win, you win. So shout out to Corey for following his spirit and reaching out to me and saying, "Will you be my mentor?" And he found me from the pod.
Wow.
And
that's so crazy.
Like once he gets going, he's going to be a mentor to someone else. And so it's really a domino effect in this whole thing. So continue to listen to pods, tell your story, study, buy the course.
Yes, buy the course.
Yes, buy the course. My Instagram, of course, is real estate _Gabs, GABZ.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Look forward to hearing from you all soon.